I'm very happy to be sitting here with the star of Elfego Baca, a man who's familiar to, I think, anyone who's seen a movie, a television show, or been to the theater in the past 50 years, Robert Loggia. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here with you, Leonard. Great to be here with you.
Robert, you've had such a long, varied, rich career. When I ask you to sit down and talk about Elfego Baca, does it seem like a very long time ago?
It does, but paradoxically, it's like a long time ago, and it's like yesterday, because the memories are so deeply embedded. And, you know, for a kid brought up in the streets of New York, I was not part of the horsey set. and westerns were when you saw Gene Autry or Buck Jones and guys like that ride horses, but that was an alien activity. To suddenly have the opportunity to be a hero in a Western endeavor by Walt Disney, it's like I died and went to heaven. I remember Walt saying, "Can you ride, son?" I said, "No, sir, but I can learn." I was a good athlete. And he said, "Okay." And I got the accelerated course in drawing a gun, wearing a cowboy hat. This is the hat I wore as Elfego, by the way.
It looks good. Still looks good.
And these are the 6 guns that Walt gave me. And the holster made by Chico Ojala, the famous Chico Ojala. I worked with great stuntmen like Davy Sharp.
Oh, wonderful.
This is how you wear the guns when you're riding. It was like that. You see how they take off the safety and draw that sucker and have you. We've checked the gun out before, so you wouldn't move, especially if I half cock it.
Wow. And that's a real Colt 45.
That's a real Colt 45 given to me by Walt Disney. Walt Disney wanted to be called Walt by everybody. He was really a father figure. When you were at the studio, it looked like a high school or college campus, people playing volleyball. We went together. Everybody was on a first name basis. And Walt was really quite an unusual man.
I'm not going to make you wear that through the whole interview, though. Why don't you, we can hang those up for the moment.
I think I'm scaring you. Okay.
Sure looks great, though.
And it comes off. Elfego.
Wow. Nice souvenirs. Now, how did you get cast? Because let's go back in time and set the scene here. You had been working on stage in New York?
Oh, yeah. I got a call from my agent. He said, we think this is already cast, but we managed to secure an interview with you. Evidently, I think it was Ricardo Montalban was going to play Elfego Baca, and Ricardo Montalban was related to Norman Foster, who was the director, who was married to Sally Blaine, Loretta Young's sister, and all of that. So it was almost like a case-closed situation. But nevertheless, they procured an appointment with Walt. And when I came in, Walt took an instant liking to me. They did a test, a screen test, and he offered me the role.
What kind of a test was it? Was it to show you on horseback, or just to get a sense of how you looked? It was
straight, just like the camera is now, straight test, not riding, not running, which were really all the attributes they should have checked out. but that was a given for me. I mean, they lucked out with that. But maybe he knew that my athletic prowess or whatever. But be that as it may, he offered me the role, and then came the accelerated course in becoming a cowboy.
New York actor.
Yes.
Grew up on the streets.
Right.
How do you learn to be a cowboy?
Well, you certainly had a frame of reference. Thank you, Buck Jones, Tom Mix, Gene Autry.
But now you had to do it on screen and look convincing. Who taught you?
Hudkin Stable in the valley was where I learned riding. And the first thing was to develop a seat, and I learned how to ride bareback in this wash with the Hudkin Stable people. And then graduated from that to a Western saddle. In the Western saddle, you're able to ride all that long. If these are your feet, they're like shock absorbers the way you're riding, and the movement, and they keep your seat and all that. It's just and a great sense of balance, and the way you rein a horse, especially if you have a good horse that neck reins, you can really handle it and talk and all that. Learning the quick draw. I had a quick draw instructor. Handle a rope somewhat, but not that much. And the fighting, the boxing and all that, I'm very handy with. I played football, baseball, basketball, had a scholarship in football at college. So the transition to a cowboy from the football field was not that difficult.
You mentioned some of the stuntmen you work with. Davy Sharp is one of my heroes.
Davy Sharp. Well, he sought me out. He said, "Kid, He said, I used to do it for Doug Fairbanks. I hope this doesn't sound too kind. He said, you're the best guy I've ever known since Fairbanks. And the way you can handle yourself and run, because I did all my own fighting and jumping and shooting and all that. I was very handy. And Davy Sharp paid me the ultimate.
Well, that's quite a compliment.
It was incredible. What a guy he was. Benny Dobbins was another great stuntman. And Bill Catching was another one, great stuntman. All the great stuntmen did Disney, and the actors. And Jimmy Dunn was on it, one of the greatest guys. Elfego, he was born on a baseball field, by the way, I think in Kansas. He was as American as could be, but he was bilingual, and he was the first Mexican-American hero. In fact, to get to that, remember Walt said, how do you want to play him? And I said, well, he's Mexican-American. So I said, if he's going to be the all-American boy, call him Jack Armstrong. I said, he's got to have that ethnicity. And Walt went with us. So I played him with a definite accent and celebrated his ethnicity as a Mexican-American.
And that was quite something in those days, because there wasn't a lot of that on television.
No, there wasn't. There was an antipathy to it. And but I wanted to make sure that his ethnicity was quite clear.
For the first episodes, the first cycle of episodes, you actually went to Mexico to shoot some of it.
Yeah, we did, because the first episode, which was based on truth, Elfego got into some altercation on the street. He shoots a 6-gun. The guy comes off the horse falls on him, and that begins his being trapped in the jacal. They recreated the original jacal, which had over 3,000 bullets in the damn thing, and dynamite and fire and everything. He survived it because the floor in the inside of the jacal, which is a wooden structure, was about 1.5 feet lower than the outside. So he was able to have the bullets whiz over his head, pretty much. So that's what saved his butt.
Where in Mexico did you go? Do you remember?
Santa Fe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Santa Fe, which was a small town then. And Walt Disney Presents in those days, Walt Disney spent so much money for a given show, he was losing money. There was no way to make it back, but he was such a stickler for doing it right. So after that, we shot 10 shows in all, I believe it was, something like that. And those that were shot on the lot were really not in the same spirit as the first effort in terms of authenticity and what actually. But the first movie of the week is really quite authentic in the legacy of Elfego Baca.
After you came back from Mexico and did other episodes where you were based here at the Disney studio, what kind of locations would you use?
Well, they had a Western Street at Disney Studio. We shot an awful lot of stuff there. But when we shot location, I remember I had a home way out in Brentwood, and I was driving like an Austin Healey at the time. I'd go over somewhere around Sepulveda and Ventura Boulevard, and stand there, and this would be like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and a minibus sort of thing would come by with the stuntmen, water people, whatever, and they'd pick me up, and I'd usually get in the front seat next to the driver, and we'd head on out to Thousand Oaks, where Lake Sherwood is now, and it was the boonies then, and you get into your gear and all that, and you'd be there with all these oak trees and all that all day doing chases, shootouts, fight scenes, all that stuff, all the Wild West stuff. Then at the end of the day, come back, go back to my Austin Healey, go back to I could no more do that now than fly to the moon. When you're young, boy, life is beautiful.
And I think I've heard about this before. It wasn't just a pickup point for one show, it was a pickup point for all the Western shows.
That's right, every
so you'd be
show.
standing there with guys doing Wagon Train and Rawhide.
I got in the wrong truck one time.
Really?
Yes, I did. It's funny you should bring that up. I said, oh, this is not, because I knew the other people as well. They pulled out and said, oh, we thought you were doing Wagon Train. You know what I mean? It's really hilarious.
Quite a scene.
It was quite a scene. It was a great fraternity and sorority. We had a wonderful group, yeah.
From your point of view, how much input did Walt seem to have in the making of these shows?
Walt knew everything. Walt was hands-on. Norman Foster was the director, but Walt had a tremendous, his presence was there. You paid attention to what he said, no question. Yeah.
Tell me a little about Norman Foster. He had such an interesting career. Started out as a juvenile actor, did that for a long time, then hooked up with Orson Welles, went behind the camera, and then did a lot of television and did quite a lot for Walt Disney.
He never got full credit for his input in initiating the project and finding it and executing it. He was always overshadowed by Walt Disney's presence overseeing it. And well, it was the Walt Disney studio. It wasn't the Norman Foster studio. And Norman became a father figure to me. I became like part of his family. He was a wonderful man, a generous man, an intelligent man.
And he also wrote those first episodes.
Yes, yes. He was a triple threat. He could write, direct, and act. And he was a real he wasn't a martinet at all. He really talked to you. Wonderful.
Now, you've played a fair number of real-life figures over the years. You played Anwar Sadat once.
Indeed, to opposite Ingrid Bergman, yes.
You played William Kunstler, the infamous attorney.
Yes, so articulate, magnificent, yes.
You even played Joseph in The Greatest Story Ever Told.
Right.
But in the case of Elfego Baca, as with some of these others, did you feel you had to do research? Did you feel you wanted to know more about the real person?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, he was an extremely complex character. He even chased Pancho Villa down in Mexico. He had the courage of a lion.
Just the idea that a man who went through what he did and then was determined to study the law and became a lawyer, essentially self-taught, right?
He became a man who defended the poor, very much like Clarence Darrow. You know, he was a defender of the common man, and very brave, very flamboyant.
An actor's life is never easy. You go from role to role. No matter how good you are, you're still waiting for the next good part to come along. And some people resent being typecast, and some people resent even a successful role that holds them in for a while. But you seem to be very happy about your television launch pad playing Elfego Baca.
Most actors had to drive a cab or do some work when they're getting their career off the ground. But from the moment I was out of the Army a couple of weeks during the Korean War. I got out in 1953, and a couple of weeks later I was on television. And I never did anything but act.
You've played many different kinds of characters, many ethnicities too, over the years. You even got an Oscar nomination for playing an Irishman.
Exactly.
Irish American.
Irish American, Jagged Edge, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Irish drunken American.
Do you find that people recognize you for one role in particular? When people stop you, I mean, you're such a recognizable face after all these years. Is it because of Big with Tom Hanks? Is it because of Prizzi's Honor? What is it people tend to...
Well, it's interesting because, you know, the yuppies never used to recognize me walking down a given street in New York. It would be the guys in the garbage truck or whatever. Say, hey, Loggia, how are you? Hey, Scarface, you know, whatever. Prizzi's Honor, yeah, you know, that kind of thing. Hey, guys, all that, you know, a real New York thing. Mm-hmm. So, but for the first time, the yuppies would say, Mr. Loggia, we saw you in Big and we loved you. So it was great.
A couple more Disney connection things I want to ask you. One is that you made an appearance at a Disneyland show launching, I guess, the new year of the Disneyland theme park in 1959. Do you have any recollection of going down there?
Oh, my God. Talk about Diana going. Nixon was there that day. They opened up the, what was the high?
The monorail, the Matterhorn.
The Matterhorn, and they put me on a white steed, and they gave me bullets. It's great white with a brass band in front of me, and I'm throwing bullets to the crowd and running. I said, have I died and gone to heaven? I'm riding a white steed, and there's a brass band in front of me, and I felt like Alexander coming into the town saying, this is my town, my place, you know. Just incredible.
Later, much after his passing, but when the studio was sort of relaunching its animation department, you got to do a voice in Oliver and Company.
Yeah, I play Sykes in Oliver, and I liked doing it. It's that kind of gives you a lot of freedom. Just the voice thing, you know.
Last thing I want to ask you about, on the later episodes of Elfego Baca, after the first show was completed, there were a lot of interesting people who passed through those casts. Ramon Navarro.
How about Ramon Navarro?
Yeah.
Now, Ramon Navarro was a most marvelous man. Ramon was a very touching man. Yeah.
And then you had newcomers too, because I see James Coburn is in a couple of
I got Jimmy
those.
that job.
Did
Jimmy
you really?
was a very dear friend of mine. Jimmy was he was one of those guys meditating, going into extraterrestrial activity. He was tall and weird and so slim and all that. And we lived in the same building in New York, and he was really a good friend. So and I got him a little gig on Elfego Baca. I think it was like one of the first things he did. You know?
Good for you.
Yeah.
And then Walt, ever mindful of sort of building his little family, even put Annette Funicello in one.
Annette Funicello was in there. Yeah, we were good friends. I adored her. If I really do genuflect to Walt and Norman Foster and Jimmy Dunn and all that, a very, very happy experience. Wonderful people, from the producers and the whole ambiance, pursuing perfection, not settling halfway. The spirit of that studio was just impeccable.
Thanks so much for turning on the memory machine and talking to us about Elfego Baca.
It's been my pleasure.